All right, a very good morning to you. Just in case you're tuning in right now, the show is Your World. My name is Winnie Lubembe, but just in case you are with us since 6 a.m., welcome back. And now we shift gears and talk about Smartest Health, all right? And like we all know, 29th September, the world marked World Heart Day. And what we all know is that cardiovascular diseases is the world's #1 killer, and combined conditions affecting the heart or blood vessels such as heart attack, stroke, and heart failure kill more than 20.5 million people every year. So the majority of these deaths happen in low and middle income countries. So the question is, what role does lifestyle play to these staggering numbers, and what is it that we can do to reverse, all right, or prevent altogether? This is the number of lives lost due to cardiovascular diseases. And to help us this morning with that conversation, we have Dr. Premanand Panoth, who's a chief cardiothoracic surgeon from the current hospital. Good to have you, Dr. Thank you so much for your time. And we also have Award Joyce, who is a consultant nutritionist as well, here to give us perspective as far as nutrition is concerned, lifestyle as well, and how this contributes to the rising cases of cardiovascular diseases. But now there's also another sort of concern, and that is the number of surges when it comes to cardiovascular diseases among young adults. All right, so first of all, what is driving this, and what is it that, again, we can do to reduce this thing? But very quickly, Dr. let's just start with the basics. Cardiovascular diseases, I know you have a model here for the heart. Yes, so can we just start with the basics, get to understand first of all the heart and cardiovascular diseases in itself?
Cardiovascular diseases basically means that it's a combination of problems of the heart as well as vascular, means blood vessel.
Right.
So heart and blood vessels. So it comprises of the diseases that involves heart and blood vessel. That's cardiovascular diseases. Of which the most common, of course, there are many if you list it, but the most common is the heart attack or the problems of the heart that we usually come across, and probably the biggest killer. The reason people are celebrating World Heart Day every year is that it is considered to be one of the biggest killer in the world, and it is said that approximately about 18 million people die throughout the world every year because of this problem. And maybe because of the change of lifestyle, the stress in the present world, the food that you eat, the lack of exercise, and so on and so forth, it is increasing. So the idea of World Heart Day is that it is being celebrated all over the world, not only in Africa, Asia, Europe, America. The idea is to make general public the importance of having a healthy lifestyle, so that we can reduce the number of deaths at least by 25% by 2025. That's a motto, or that is the idea behind the whole thing. So that day we celebrate, and every year there is a slogan or a catchword they say about World Heart Day. I think this time it is know your heart and use your heart.
Use your heart, yes.
I think that's a catch. So they make it something very fancy. The idea is the same, because if you go to any hospital anywhere in the world, I'm sure Africa is no different. Most of the admission, more than about 60% of the admission is because of cardiovascular diseases. It may be stroke, it may be heart problem, it may be heart attack, so on and so forth. So the goalpost is shifting. Gone are the days where you go to a hospital, you find all sort of infectious disease like malaria, Kala-Azar. Those days are gone. Now you find more of other problem, or what you call non-communicable diseases, or NCD. And that's why the government is also giving a lot of importance to it. Mental illness, eye problem, so on and so forth. So have a healthy lifestyle so that we can reduce the risk. If you look at the risk, I'm sure Joyce will tell. There are two types of risk. One is the risk which are in your control. The other one is the risk which are not in your control. If you look at the risk which are not in your control, the race you're born, your age, your sex, your family tree, you can't change it because you're born into it. But there are certain aspects which you can change. For example, smoking, you can stop. Alcohol, you can control. Eating habits, you can, it's all in your control. Blood pressure, you can control. Diabetes, get it controlled. So there are a lot of risk factors which are under your control. which you can control and thereby reduce the incidence of cardiovascular diseases.
I'm just curious to understand here in the country, what are the trends like based on, you know, for example, the patients that you see, because again, like I said, there's this concern about the young adults and the surges as far as cardiovascular diseases are concerned. What are some of the trends that you have noticed? And then we'll go to
you know, I think in late 70s or early 80s, there was a paper presented in the World Health Organization in Tokyo, Japan, whereby they saw that they mentioned that the African population is immune to cardiovascular disease. That was the myth, more than a reality. Now you find that people are walking in with a lot of issues. So I think there is a change in the lifestyle. As you know, Vinny, you know, if you remember your grandfather who had a different lifestyle than what you have. So the stress is more. You take a lot of, you know, nice greasy burgers and junk food. You don't have much time to do any physical exercise. Basically, you are indoor. Even if you see nowadays the children, they play football and all the games on the computer rather than playing in the football in the field. So there's a change in lifestyle. Plus the stress causing smoking, drinking, you know, lack of sleep, you know, so on and so forth. So I think probably that's a curse of the recent era or the 21st century, whereby people have no time to rest. You are all chasing something all the time. So I think this is the price you have to pay, because you don't have time to look after your own body
and take care of yourself.
So I think that is where we are, and we see a lot of patients nowadays. You know, as a surgeon, I've done more than 600 open hearts after coming to Kenya. So it's a big number, and I do about 3 to 4 every week. So the number is going up, whatever it may be. Maybe it is heart problem, maybe you know, types of like coronary artery disease, which is because of these problems, or it is rheumatic heart disease, or whatever it is. So science and technology is progressing. The investigative tool is better refined, so that you can diagnose the disease in a much easier and you know, nicer way, so that you can pinpoint what the problem is, and you can treat accordingly.
I see that. And we'll talk about you know, management of the same again, because statistics say 80% of premature deaths from CVDs are actually preventable. So 80% is such a good number, but then the reality on the ground is that things are not well. And Joyce, very quickly, a lot of the times we talk about healthy lifestyle, and we talk about how important that is. And if you talk to people out there, they'll tell you, yes, we know. But now the problem is, you know, comes in when it comes to sort of like implementing and living, you know, this lifestyle, you know, that we're talking about, and that is the healthy lifestyle. Like Chari says, it's a curse of the 21st century. But really, what is the biggest issue? Why aren't we living a healthy lifestyle? What is the biggest challenge that maybe some of the clients that come to you say, you know what, I am trying, it is not working out?
Thank you so much for having me. If you look at back in the day, the hunters and gatherers, rather where we were from, they were really much hunting and gathering. We didn't have, they didn't have to plant or anything. They're out there looking for, either they get a root here, they go and chase a rabbit and things like that. So you'd find that they are doing a lot of physical activity, they're up and about. But nowadays technology has advanced, and you find that you can sit in your house and you can have food brought to you. And unfortunately, you can also have the gym in your house, but you will not use it. You'll get comfortable. And by the time you go to your room and do your gym, you're thinking, let me just do some work here.
I have it here, I can do it.
Since it's just here, I can easily just go and maybe do the treadmill or something. But you find that people are very comfortable, and life is also hard as per now. You find people want to make want to use so much of their time in working hard and producing more, earning more, and things like that. So we don't go back and check our health. Then also something else is that once somebody is diagnosed with the least form of, let me call it the least form of cardiovascular disease, for example, hypertension or cholesterol, they don't go ahead to ask maybe a dietitian, a nutritionist, what can I do so that it doesn't progress to heart attack and stroke and things like that. So you can also manage the hypertension and something like that, or get it preventive before it gets to hypertension. What can you do? What diets can you indulge in? Can you do physical activity? Doesn't mean you go to the gym. What can you do in your space? Can you walk around? Can you do a jog? Can you just even go up the stairs? If you're in a flat, you could easily get out, go up, come down, and get back to the house. So we need to also sensitize people on the small things you can do. Doesn't have to be something big.
And there's this sort of like notion, misconception about what luxury, you know, is all about. Where again, like you're saying, the convenience of just sitting on your couch and have all your meals delivered to you. I'm pretty sure very soon we'll have like robotics to come clean up after ourselves, right, and do all those things. And people see that and would want to admire that, the luxury, the convenience. But on the other hand, it's destroying us, you know, slowly, and the fact that now we're experiencing these numbers, especially amongst the young people as well. We're seeing a lot of young children now with diabetes. There's a report on today's paper on the Daily Nation where 6 out of 10 people with diabetes do not know that they have it. So I think there's a very big problem that we need to really deal with. Dr. Can we first of all just get to understand, we've talked about several risk factors, right? But can we get to understand heart attack? A lot of people don't really understand.
They don't understand what it is.
Exactly.
So heart attack, you know, let me show the model. So heart is a muscle basically. And you know, every organ needs blood, every organ needs food, and the food to these organs come through blood. And the arteries which take this blood is known as coronary arteries. Just like you have a left and right hand, there is a left coronary artery, there is a right coronary artery. Very simple, the right supplies the right side of the heart and the base of the heart, left supplies the front of the heart and the left side of the heart.
Okay.
Some people left will be dominant, some people right will be dominant, just like your right and left hand, some, you know. But by and large, left is the most dominant one. And it's very important because it supplies what is called the pumping chamber of the heart, or the left ventricle. Now, when the blood flow to these muscles become restricted, maybe because of the cholesterol deposition, calcium, thrombus formation, whatever it is, the blood supply to the muscle become less, and the muscle will cry for food. Just like when you are hungry, you feel the hunger pain. Just like the muscle will have the nature is great, you know, it will tell you that it is lack of food by having chest pain. That is called angina in a doctor's term. Sometimes patient will typically, they say that when I climb the stairs, I get the pain. When I take rest, it goes off. That's a red flag. The moment the patient say that I get chest pain when I exert or run after matatu, and when I take rest, it goes off. That is the one, I think, most cardinal sign to say that he has got a heart problem. So I think that is one. Many times, unfortunately, throughout the world, many people take it very lightly. They say that, you know, oh, this is a, you know, muscular pain. It is gas in the stomach, you know, things like that, because no one want to accept that you have a heart problem, you know, because it's like a black spot on you. So people try to, you know, put it under the carpet and say that, oh, I am healthy, I don't have any problem. But my feeling is that if someone has that sign, you should get it checked. That's an early warning sign telling that, look, you have some problem which has to be investigated. So when the blood supply to the heart muscles become deficient, when the heart blood vessels, that I call you, the coronary arteries get narrowed, or then you get this pain that's called angina pain or chest pain. Now, if you don't treat that stage also, then it goes to the next level. It's like the traffic jam, you know, it is narrowed, but still some bike and matatu is going. But still, if you ignore it, when it becomes 100% block, that is where the blood supply to the muscle becomes 100% cut off, and that part of the muscle becomes deads. You know, just like you don't take food for a long time. So that part becomes dies, and that is called myocardial infarction, or that's a time you get what is called heart attack. So that means you have pushed it right up to the brim. You know, there was initial warning sign by the nature, you ignored it, then still you carried on, and then it has come to a stage where the blood vessel is completely blocked, and the muscle beyond that is not getting the blood supply, and that part dies. And that's the time when the patient I get excruciating chest pain I had, I was sweating, I had all sort of, you know, feeling that I may even die, and they rush to the hospital. You know, that is where, that is called the heart attack.
All right.
In like layman's term.
Okay. All right. I see that. Can we just understand, first of all, the role of, let's understand, first of all, diet, right? Our nutrition, and the role it plays in preventing, you know, cases of cardiovascular diseases, and especially heart attack. Dr. mentioned we like to eat junk, greasy food. It's very tasty to some people, but you say, you know, the good things that our body needs, those ones are not tasty. We don't like those ones. But these are the ones that are really detrimental to our bodies. That is exactly what we want. So can we talk about, first of all, understand junk food, and the whole process that ends up, you know, sometimes clogging, you know, the arteries as well. Can we just understand first of all that aspect.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Diet, once you look at diet and how food is prepared, you understand that there are various types of fats. There's the saturated fats, there's the unsaturated, and there's trans fats.
Okay.
Of those, the trans fats is the worst that you can ever ingest.
All right.
And then you go to saturated, which is not so bad, but still bad.
Okay.
Then unsaturated is now the best you can have.
Okay.
Yeah?
All right.
So in our foods that are deep fried, once you expose oil to a certain temperature of the oil is very burning, then now it changes to trans fats. Okay. Then now you're deep frying your food in that oil that has extreme temperatures. So you're using trans fats.
All right.
Then now you ingest that.
Okay.
Once you ingest that, that trans fat goes and aligns in the lining of your artery. Yeah. And that is what causes now the heart attack and things like that, and high blood pressure. Because for example, if you take the analogy of the traffic jam, yes, and you're supposed to go on one way, then there's a whole blockage on the side of the road. Yeah. So now the cars are being converged into one small place. Yeah. So it takes a lot of pressure for them to go through. Yeah. So that is what now increases the high blood pressure, which progresses now to stroke and things like that. Yeah. So if we can cut out trans fats. All right. Also, we need to also sensitize people on how to read the food label so that you know what has trans fat. Yeah. What do we mean by low fat? What does it mean by saturated, free, and things like that. Okay. So once you understand how to read the food label, then you're able to choose foods that are healthy for your heart. Okay. Then also know which type of oils to use. For example, there's the olive oil, there's the canola, there's the vegetable oil, and there's the fat. Yeah. The fat itself. Basically oil that is solid at room temperature. All right. So as if we can avoid all that, basically the oil, whatever oil that is solid at room temperature, your butter, your margarine, sometimes coconut oil, if you can avoid that, I can see your face. Those are the things that have very high saturated fats. Yeah. Yes. So we need to limit and avoid. Once you are hypertensive or things with cardiovascular diseases, then you avoid. Completely. Yeah, completely. Then now we use the vegetable oil. If you can use the olive oil, is the best. Then you come down to canola oil. Then you come even lower to vegetable oil. Then now the coconut oil comes the fourth. So those four are good to use. Okay. But depends on which temperature. Even when you dip fry. Now that's the catch. Yeah.
Because a lot of people will say, yeah, but I use olive oil to deep fry.
So now olive oil has 4 types of olive oils. Okay. There's the extra virgin, which is just good for your salad dressing and things like that. Then there's the virgin oil, which is now good for frying and stir frying and things like that. Then now there's the pure oil, pure virgin oil, which is now good for deep frying. So every oil has its own cut-off point for temperature per se. Yes. So once we understand that, then now we're able to know what to cook, how to cook, and what's best.
I hear that. Totally hear that. But now the catch is how many people are able to afford, right? In cases of extra virgin oil, for example, how many people are able to afford that? Majority of the people would actually use the solid ones. Remember what you said? Solid at room temperature. That is what a lot of people would afford, or even use, because we're trying to save. You know, economy. We're trying to save, so let's use this one because it's quote unquote less expensive as compared to the liquid ones. But then we end up bringing a lot of problems.
In terms of affordability, we now look at the vegetable oils. Okay. Then now there's the corn oil, there's the sunflower oil. Then there's now the margarine, or let's call it fat. Yeah. So if you can use the corn and the vegetable oil, anything I normally tell my clients, anything that is liquid at room temperature is good to use. But how are you using? Instead of deep frying, you can stir fry. For example, you want to make fries or things like that. You can stir fry your fries. Doesn't have to go deep into the oil. Nowadays there's quick fix. What is this name called? The stir fry, not the stir fry.
Air fryer. Yes.
Which is way better than deep frying if you don't have an oven to do the baking and things like that. So we just step away from the deep frying. We step away from a lot of processed foods, because all the processed food, they use sodium to make it stay longer on the shelf. So once you have a lot of sodium intake, definitely your high blood pressure will go high.
I see that.
So we limit our sodium intake, limit our fat, take the good type of fat. So you can take your avocados, you can take your nuts, you can take your fish. So those are the good type of fat that we're talking about.
There's so much. And also the preparation and what are we eating, when are we eating, how are we pairing our foods as well, because there's a whole lot of conversation around around the same. We'll come back to you, Joyce, for the same. But Dr. So then understanding these risk factors and also trying to avoid them, because again, like you said, there are some others that clearly there's nothing much that you can do, but there are others that you can do quite a lot in terms of prevention. So maybe someone is watching us this morning and thinking, okay, but I have diabetes, for example, I have hypertension, then what do I do? Because it's a risk in itself. What do I do to prevent myself from getting, you know, a case of, for example, heart attack or stroke?
So I think we are living in a modern era where we have very fancy diagnostic tools, very fancy, very good medication. So all these things, if it is diagnosed early, you can get it under control and then have a comfortable life. I know people who have been having diabetes for 30, 40 years having a comfortable life. So also blood pressure. So there's a price you have to pay. You have to take the medication properly. You have to go to the doctor whenever he asks to come, get it checked and get it controlled. And as Joyce has told, food restriction or food control is also a very important part. Take, you know, do exercise regularly, because that's a very important part. You know, at least go for a walk, half an hour to 45 minutes every day, even if you don't go to a gym. So make yourself active. You know, I think you should get rid of the sedentary life, you know, sitting and just relaxing. Many times, you know, previously, this was a disease, coronary artery disease, where you get heart attack, was a disease for the rich, where people sit in the car. You know, typically when I was a student, the typical description of a man who gets a heart attack is the one, you know, a rich man, pot belly, having a cigar in his hand, whiskey glass in the other hand, going by first class in an airplane and skipping through financial times. That means this is a man who has no time. He's thinking about money all the time. Smoking cigar, drinking whiskey, and has got pot belly with a 3-piece suit. So this is the typical description of a man who is going to get heart attack, blood pressure problems, diabetes, everything. But I think things have changed. Nowadays you guys see people who are trim and, you know, pretty athletic coming in with all these problems. So I think one of the main preponderance of this is a strong genetic food if they have. You know, if you ask these people who are very healthy coming with heart problem, they say that there's a very strong family history. So nowadays genetic, you know, screening is, especially in the Western world, is very, very you know, strong. Unfortunately, we have not got into it because one thing, it's costly, it's a very cumbersome thing. Whereby if you ask a close lady, father, mother, brother, sister, close one, they say that yes, they all have this problem. So I think my message to the public is that if there is a strong family history, keep your eyes open. You may be, this is one factor which is not in your control. You have been born into the family, you have the genetic gene inside you, and it may come up anytime. So if you have a good, healthy lifestyle, probably you can delay something which can come at 40, you can push it to 60 or 70. So I think, so that's a message I want to tell. So if you have a strong family history, you must have a regular health checkup, maybe, you know, early in life, get everything under control, and you can push whatever is going to happen, maybe another 20, 30 years later. You
know, there's this notion usually that what you don't know will not kill you, but I don't think that applies in this case, because like you said, the early screening, if this is discovered earlier, it's very easy for you to manage and, you know, delay the, you know, the impact of the same up until later. So then how do we get to that level? Because majority of us, our health-seeking behavior is terrible. It's really, really bad. If it doesn't hurt, I'm not going to go to hospital, because what if I go and then the doctor says, so you know,
that's one of the main problems many people have. You know, I don't want to see a doctor because he'll find out something. What if, so I just wanted to brush it under the carpet, have a good life. When it comes, I will sort it out. You know? So that's attitude almost everyone has it. You know, why should I get it checked? I'm fine. You know. So my feeling is that it is okay, but the problem is that when it hits you, it hits you really hard. So any patient or any person who has got some illness or some problem which is cannot be cured by a simple medication should always get it checked. That's my advice for them. Suppose someone gets, say, when I go for a walk, I feel some discomfort in the chest, which goes off. You know, he thought that it is muscle problem, put some, you know, deep heat and things like that, and still not going. It is better to get it checked.
To just go get checked.
You know, it's better to be you know, on the safe side.
Yes.
Get it checked. We have good hospitals, good investigative tools. Fortunately, Kenya is coming up in a big way. Get it checked.
Yeah.
And if everything is okay, well and good.
Well and
good.
good.
If there is a problem, fix it.
Yeah.
Right at the beginning.
I see that. I see that. How about you take a break? But when we come back, Dr. I would want to understand, especially for cases of heart attack, for the symptoms. Because when you speak about the symptoms, they mimic, you know, other symptoms, which is very easy for people to ignore. So then, are there distinct symptoms that we should be on the lookout for? And then, are the symptoms sudden, or, you know, are they prolonged as well? And what is it that we need to do? Because again, we talked about advancements when it comes to technology and treatment and all those things. So then, how are we doing as far as dealing with cases of cardiovascular diseases? But all that is coming up after the break. If you have any question, feel free to send them our way. That is at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on X. Or if you want to call in live, our lines are open. But all that is coming up after the break. See you on the other side.